What is up, creatives? This is Tom. Welcome back to another video. So finally, Canon did it. They announced the R5 and the R6. I've kind of gone back and forward on whether to make a video on this topic. But I think what I've landed on is that what I actually want to talk about is the R6, or more specifically, why I'm actually choosing or likely to choose the R6 over the R5 in the first place. Personally, I don't think the R6 is actually getting talked about quite enough because this is a significant upgrade over the camera that I'm shooting on right now, the Canon EOS R. This is sort of like the logical step from the EOS R, and then the R5 is definitely in its league of its own in terms of specifications. But I do think that personally, and I think for a lot of people that do the type of work that I do, client work or internet videos like this one, the R6 is actually going to be a fantastic choice. Sorry about the light changing quite a lot. I'm just shooting using the window lighting. But hey, I'm going to go through 5 reasons why I'm actually interested in this camera over the R5. And I think it's only fitting to talk first about the sort of headline feature on the R5, which is of course the 8K RAW. Alright guys, so the new Canon EOS R5 shoots 8K in 3 different sort of modes. So first of all, obviously there is that 8K RAW that's like insanely high detail, going to give you so much post-processing control, but also obviously is going to demand a lot out of your computer, but also a ton of storage space. Then you have 8K in both IPB and all-I, so like 2 different compressions of file formats. So 8K is going to be an amazing piece of functionality, especially for the industry at large. Like, to have a consumer camera like this that can shoot 8K is really, really great. But I don't care about it. Like, I'm not going to use this functionality if I had the R5 pretty much ever. Like, the file formats are going to be too large. My computer won't even be able to process footage like the 8K out of that camera. So why do I even need it on the camera? Why am I paying for that additional functionality? Don't get me wrong, I think some people are going to really be able to take advantage of this functionality, but for me, right now, not an important feature. Alright, now let's talk about the functionality and feature that I'm actually most excited about on the Canon EOS R5 and on the R6. And that's a big one, so it's present in both cameras. Therefore, the thing which I'm most excited about is the thing which is accessible for both cameras, and it is 4K at 60 frames a second. On my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, this is the camera which I use for most of my commercial work. I actually shoot predominantly in 4K 60. It gives me the flexibility to slow down in post. Obviously, if I'm shooting something and I know that I'm going to be just using it at normal speed, I'll shoot in 25 frames a second. But having the ability to shoot 50 or 60 frames a second on a camera like this in 4K is just an absolutely massive advantage. You'd be surprised how much stuff you actually just can shoot in 4K 60, and because it's such a high resolution and you have the flexibility of frame rate control, it really is a feature that is exceptional to have. It's one of the things which I miss most about shooting on the EOS R, is that I can't shoot 4K 60, but both cameras, the Canon EOS R5 and the EOS R6, shoot 4K 60 frames per second. It's going to be fantastic for a commercially focused camera like the Canon EOS R6 at $2,400 to be able to shoot 4K 60. Okay, now let's talk about 120 frames a second in 1080p. So we've talked briefly already about that 4K 120 frames per second on the EOS R5, which is insanity. Like, 4K at 120 frames a second on a commercial camera is incredible, and like the innovation that Canon is pushing is really exceptional in these cameras. However, the R5 does not support 120 frames a second recording in 1080p, and there are always going to be times where you want to save the data rate on that 120 frames a second and record in 1080p. I use the 120 or high frame rate options on this camera all the time, and I do that in 1080p, but it shoots brilliant 1080p, so I'm not really too worried about the loss in resolution. Having the option to shoot 120 frames a second on the Canon EOS R6 at 1080p is actually a really exceptional feature, and something which is missing off the EOS R, which I'm shooting on right now, but that is a significant upgrade from that camera to the R6. Okay, so one more reason why I'm choosing the R6 over the R5 is data rates. Now, I am not someone that shoots films. I shoot commercial projects, so client videos. I am a video and photo freelancer. So I do that type of work along with making a ton of internet videos, YouTube videos like this. I don't want files that are going to basically just kill all of my file storage. Like, I have a big sort of 8 terabyte to 12 terabyte drive on my desk that I use for all of my sort of client storage, and filling that up with either like 4K 60, 4K 120 files, that really isn't a good use of storage space for me. Storage space is actually quite expensive. The lower bit rates and lower storage solutions available on the R6 is actually a bit of a selling point for me. I will link a fantastic video down below in the description by Caleb Pike, who sort of goes fully into the detail of both cameras, both the R6 and the R5, and breaks down sort of what is going to be better for what and what you need to be considering or thinking about the storage space before you buy one of these cameras. Shooting in 8K RAW is about 18 gigs per minute of footage. Like, that is an insane amount, and I certainly don't think you're going to be wanting to shoot in 8K RAW all the time, nor anyone who actually buys the camera is going to be thinking they're going to shoot 8K RAW all the time. But it definitely is a consideration that the smaller file sizes on the R6 might be useful for some people. And then finally, what we're going to talk about is the price. Now, there is a significant difference in terms of pricing between these cameras, especially here in the UK. We seem to be getting screwed just a little bit. So in the UK, let me read this off here. The R5 is going to cost £4,199 in the UK, or $3,899 in the States, whereas the R6 is going to be the same for the US and the UK, $2,499 or £2,499. So obviously that is a significant price difference. The R5 in the UK particularly, but also in the States, is a significant increase on an already quite expensive camera. Again, if you are in the market for those features like 8K RAW or 8K recording in general, obviously that price difference is probably not going to be a crazy increase for you. But for me personally, I make internet videos, I make client videos, saving like an additional, £1,700 or $1,700 to upgrade to the R5 is quite a significant thing. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts on these cameras. I think Canon are doing an incredible job at pushing innovation, and it's amazing to see what they've come out with and been working on for the last few years. I'm thoroughly excited to see what manufacturers like Sony and people like that are going to do with their sort of future releases, because competition is good. It's all just sort of pushing the innovation of the industry forward. Like I said, so let me know down below in the comment section what your thoughts are on the new releases, if you're going to be picking up the R5 or the R6, or maybe you're just happy shooting on whatever you're shooting on right now. Just because these cameras are, doesn't mean that we can't make great stuff using the cameras we've got. And I'll catch you guys next time.